Thank you so much for joining me, Harris and Paul, for our first ever co-living operations recording here. Hopefully this turns out well, and we're going to get into some topics that a lot of people aren't getting into, really. Namely, we're diving into operations. It's something that's been near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And, I certainly know it's near and dear to yours as you guys keep talking to me. So it works out.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. We've been following you for a long time, since the NACO days. It was like a year and a half ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. That was the very first group that we joined around co-living on Facebook, and your face was in there.
Yeah.
So we met you first, pretty much.
Yeah.
You and Clara.
We apologize for that, but it's only so much I can do. Right, within that. Paul, you can't tell, is crazy. He's always wearing his fantastic glasses here. I just noticed I actually have two different colors on the sides as well as over his eyes. That's his big thing. So you'll see Paul around, and he's always got the glasses. Harris is just the smarter one. So she's there. She's
the brains of the operation. Yeah.
She brought it. So the way this is going to work, the format we're going to play with is interview first half, and then second half, we're going to fight. Okay? The whole thing that separates businesses is how we differ. And I'm very happy to get to the idea of some common core standards. But then you have the icing, the little variants, the differences in how you define your business that really helps set you apart. All right? I think we agree on there. We're trying to scale. We want to have efficiency in operations. But we got to be different from each other somehow. Right? All right. So with that, the first question we have is, how did you guys get your start in co-living?
Yeah, I'll start off, and you can add some color to it. The way we started is that, well, Harris's company sponsors some of the local real estate groups in the area. So we started going to those, and we became friends with a gentleman there who he does co-living. He has 5 or 6 houses, and over the course of 4, 5, 6 months, he started sharing a lot of what he was doing, and he was very freely sharing. And after a while, we're like, you know what? We can do this. And it seemed like a natural fit for our personalities. And Harris already owned a home. I didn't. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I have to give massive credit to Harris. She was the one that pushed me. She's like, hey, you should jump into this, buy a house, start house hacking. Let's do it. So I definitely appreciate Harris for that.
I pushed him over the edge. But yeah, I was very much pushing him to buy real estate. Like, your money's not doing much for you, not invested in some sort of investment. So go ahead and invest it in real estate. So he bought his first house in May of 2024, right?
Okay.
And then we did a conventional renovation loan for that house. So the house was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, but each side of the home was kind of like an enclosed carport. So we knew that we could really make it a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom and work with the existing square footage.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Pretty easily.
So we basically used that conventional renovation loan. We added 2 bathrooms, added 2 bedrooms from those wings of the property.
Added a fence, expanded the driveway, converted from a water heater to tankless water heater. New porch, new front door, stuff like that. So it was, go ahead. Some
cosmetic stuff, some functional stuff, but it was a good experience for us to do a conventional renovation loan for our very first one, because we got to dabble in renovations. My company does fix and flip loans so I do that for a living, but we had never really done it ourselves. So we were like, how can we get our feet dirty and get our feet wet without going full-blown big renovation. So it was about a $60,000 renovation. So we did that renovation. Then we moved in, and then we started house hacking. So we started renting the very first room out in September of 2024. So it wasn't too long later.
Right.
And then since then, we had 2 housemates and then the 2 of us. But there were 5 bedrooms. So we were occupying 3 of the bedrooms, and the other 2 guys were in the other 2 bedrooms. And we realized at some point that, that was a dumb decision. We should have just taken 2 bedrooms and then rented out.
More renters, so more revenue coming in.
Yeah. We weren't sure if we were going to enjoy it first. So that was our way of dipping our toes in and determining, do we even like co-living? Are we going to be comfortable as a couple living with other people? And we found out that we liked it.
We structured the house specifically. The other 2 rooms have their own entrance, their own exit, and their own bathroom. So it was maximum privacy. So
you kept the main central home, and then you just kind of rent out the wings that you had built out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we thought that would be the easiest way to get started because if, limit of any issues, potential conflict, stuff like that.
Right. You could pretend like they didn't even exist. You still had the central home. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the second guy that moved in, he moved in, and I think we didn't see him for like 3 or 4 days after that. So
you're like, is he really here? I don't know.
Yeah. So
were they using the kitchen, or do they have their own little kitchenettes, or so they were coming into the main home? You didn't have this all to yourself and just renting out the 2 rooms on the side.
Yeah. I mean, everybody uses the same kitchen and same laundry room. That's all. That's both in the middle area. But one guy did cook quite often, usually every day. The other guy, he ate out a lot, so he didn't cook food.
Didn't see him as much, but ultimately, we decided after doing that we really liked it. So we're living here now, and now I have an empty house that we had moved out of. So we were like, cool, let's just convert my house to co-living. So I bought my house in 2020, had a 2.75 interest rate, and I had a ton of equity in my house. So I was like, let's just get a HELOC. So I got a HELOC, renovated my house. That was about $100,000 renovation. And that one was also a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom that we converted to a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom. So we've had smaller houses thus far, all 5-bed, 3 baths. And then once we were done with that one, it took how long to renovate it?
I think it was about 3.5 months.
Yeah, 3.5 months. And then we started renting that one out. And once that one was fully occupied, we decided to buy another one. So our 3rd house we bought with 2 friends of ours. Yep. And we've bought all of our homes owner occupied. So we just, if we haven't lived in it, we're partnering with people who are going to live in it.
Yeah.
And we're able to get that low 3.5% to 5% down. And then we just live in it, renovate the property, move in, rent out the other bedrooms. And then once we decide to move on to another property, we just replace ourselves.
Yeah.
And then this 3rd house that we're doing, it's 8 bedrooms. So we're kind of pushing the limits there with what we're
pushing what you've been doing in the past.
Yeah. But I think the big takeaway is like, if anyone wants to get into this and is scared, doesn't know how to, an owner occupied renovation loan, whether it's what we're doing now, FHA 203K, or the Fannie Mae Homestyle, either one of those is such an incredibly easy way because 3.5 to 5% down. The renovation, 100% covered. It's such a good way to buy a house, structure it the way you want to, adding bedrooms, adding bathrooms, maybe parking and stuff like that.
Right.
Then you start renting rooms. And if anything goes wrong, you're living there. So it's not like you have to drive hours or fly anywhere. Hopefully you can keep the peace.
Right.
If there's any issues that come up, that's people related. So probably the best way to get started.
When you have your tenants over there, are they aware, hey, you guys own the home, it is your house, so they know that they're living with the owner?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of a different vibe or treatment there versus if you're like over just the in-house managers or something.
Yeah, I have to give credit to, I read Craig Curelop's book, The House Hacking Strategy book, and he said, be careful if you're house hacking and you're going to live there and you're saying, no, I'm just the property manager, the owner lives somewhere else away. If you're living there, eventually people probably will figure it out.
They'll see all the mail with your name on it.
Yeah.
The going to come in. They're going to figure it out.
And then if they think, well, man, this guy's been lying to me for the past 4 months, that's
what else is going on? Right?
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? It's fine.
Okay.
We kind of use it to our advantage when we're vetting people to come and live with us as well. And we can dive a ton into that, but we basically say, hi, we're Paul and Harris, and we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't watch television, we don't do drugs, we don't eat sugar.
No fun at all.
Yeah, we're like no fun.
Yeah,
so if people come to our pre-screening form and they see that, they're like, oh, these people are either the best people I could ever ask for as roommates, or they absolutely hate us and they don't want to be anywhere near us.
Yeah.
So we kind of filter people out by expressing who we are. And then the people who don't resonate with us, they don't want to live with us.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Does that help with you residing in the home with things such as like an eviction or something down the line? Like, are you able to more easily remove someone from the home with that? Because like your residence?
Yeah. Luckily, we haven't had to deal with that necessarily.
Okay.
But we have been told by multiple people that when they saw that we lived here, it made them feel better. And they're like, oh, okay, it's good that one thing, you're probably going to take care of the property better. You're probably also going to, if there's any issues, you're going to mediate. So getting people in, I think, has helped a lot. For fair housing type of things, depends on your state, but we have heard and read also that the rules are a little bit more lenient because
if you live there, you get to decide who's living with you. Like, fair housing rules primarily don't apply, as my understanding.
Yeah,
which is fantastic. So
we just say we want to live with purple tiny unicorns, and then
you say, hey, if you want to live here, you must wear crazy glasses. I can do that. That's totally cool.
You must beat me in a game of chess.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So you guys got in. You're at 3 homes now.
Yeah.
Right? Is that counting the one that you're in right now, or is that this plus 3?
Yeah, that counts this house. So total, including the one we're renovating, we have 18 rooms.
Yeah. I'll say I counted as, I'll say 2.8 houses. The third one is still it's in the final stages, but yeah.
You're getting ready to launch. Fantastic.
Hopefully.
Did you see my buyer's guide for items? Are you going to be leaning to that, or do you guys vary from that a little bit? I'm going to a different question already, but
no, actually, that's actually definitely have seen that. Literally a few hours ago, I bought the folding table off of folding desk off of your guide. So that's been very helpful. We've had we're thinking about queen beds or full beds, and then your full beds all day, and we're like, I think that probably just makes sense. But that's very helpful.
There's some things we do differently. For example, we furnish all of the sheets, all the bedding, but for the most part, we're pretty similar to you. We have bed, we have a nightstand, we have closets in every room, desk, and a chair. We found that every single time we've rented out a room, I would say probably 90% of people have asked us for a desk and a chair. So we just decided to start buying
it, right?
Yeah. I think what we're realizing is that Charleston, South Carolina, which is where we are, is a little bit of a unique market because it is such a destination, vacation, hospitality type of town. There is so much migration all the time of people who just want to move. Like, we've had a few people that are in our houses. There's I moved. Why? I just wanted to be close to the beach. I was like, okay, but that means they just came with nothing. Just what they could fit in the car.
Grabbed their bag and walked out the door one day from wherever they were. I'll land over here. Okay.
But also, because it is such a destination town and vacation, all this kind of stuff, that means the rents are higher, and there's also a lot of Airbnbs, which pushes the rents higher, and the housing goes lower.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of have proportionally higher room rental rates than perhaps other co-living markets, but the property prices themselves are actually pretty reasonable. It's
really?
It's on average between 300 600. So not bad.
We thought they were pretty expensive until we went to the co-living conference, and then people in Colorado were saying,
we're 800,000 is a great deal, and we're like,
wow, okay, and then rents are lower. Probably also because the co-living regulation is so friendly, so there's probably a lot more competition.
Sure.
Okay. I want to circle back to the 203B loan real quick, ask you a question before we move on. So with the 203B loan that you guys use, which allows you to purchase for the 3.5%, 5% down, so low down payment, plus you get funds for the rehab. The home itself, does it need to be beat up or under appraised value? And is that rehab amount tied to some percentage of total property value based on an assessment? Or can you do whatever you want with X amount of money?
Technically, and 203K, by the way, 203K.
Okay. Not being came from.
Yeah.
203K.
203B, funny, that's the just straight FHA loan, just buying it.
Okay.
I bought this house that we're in right now, literally bought it from a flipper. So it was already in pretty good shape, probably as best as you could expect. And then we just added all the extra stuff. So theoretically, I think you can do it with any house you want. You could buy a house that is like perfectly move-in ready and say, hey, I want to add a back patio with a barbecue pit or something like that. You could do that. We're just like, I want to buy a house. And
does that addition have to add enough value that it's covered by the loan, so that are they still giving you money that's above and over the property value?
They will go up to 110.
Yeah,
110% of the value. So theoretically, you could do this loan, and then you could be underwater immediately.
Right. You're only paying like 5% down, and then getting a loan for 110. So you're like 105% of value. Yeah. You're definitely underwater right off the bat.
Theoretically, what they say is that whatever renovations you do, let's say you're buying a $300,000 house and you're going to put 100 into it, so it should be worth 400 after that. Sometimes that may not necessarily happen, and maybe the house is only worth 375. But if you're at the closing table, they just want to give you the loan anyway. Right. So that's why they're just like, it may not always translate dollar for dollar into appraised value, so we'll give you 110%, which is
that's interesting.
Yeah, it is insane. I honestly think the 203K is like the most powerful loan product in the world. The only thing is you do need to live in it. That is the big thing. For anybody listening, please don't commit mortgage fraud.
Yeah, it's in for at least a year, right? Or is there a longer limit on that one? So at least a year. Okay.
The other cool thing about that loan is that you can finance all of your payments up to 12 months. So 12 months.
Yeah.
He's an MLO now. So
you're undergoing the rehab. You're dealing with all that and all the craziness and possible overages and everything. You got to pay them before they give you a draw, I'm guessing. You don't need to also be making your mortgage payment. They hold all of that.
Exactly.
Is that all due in one lump sum later? So 12 months, or is that just rolls over and increases your mortgage?
Yeah, it just increases your mortgage.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing too. It's like you do your renovation and then you're going to live there, and it's just one loan, 30-year fixed. No need to refinance, no balloons or anything like that. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Everything does have to be above board though. So for example, we did have to pull permits. We did have to get an appraiser out there, and they looked at our floor plan because it's going to be 8 bedrooms. And surprisingly, we didn't have any problems, but that's definitely something to consider when doing co-living. As you know, is if you're going to be doing a renovation that's all above board, make sure that your appraiser is going to be okay with the floor
whatever
plan
you're doing and give you the value.
Yeah. Everything has to be completely above board. The renovation has to be done by a GC, licensed insured general contractor. So, and you do get assigned a government HUD consultant that will help you with the scope of work, help you every time you need a draw. They'll do an inspection, all that kind of stuff. So everything is completely above board. So be aware of that.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, so that's one question down. We're 20 minutes into our hour long. This is awesome. Okay, we might need to trim down our question. All right. So I guess the next question that we're going to go over is just what systems, what software, what kind of tech stack do you have to handle your rent collection, your maintenance requests, any generalized communication between your tenants? Now, I know you're living with them, so it's probably like, oh, we just sit at the dining room table and we say hi to each other. But what are you doing, if anything, to help, keep this together and clean in your mind?
Yeah.
I think one thing is that a lot of people, when they're getting started, they overcomplicate this. They're like, I've got to have, door loop or Appfolio and
Trello for process management or something, right?
And you just don't need that. Especially at our level, we've learned that we don't need to overcomplicate it. So we do all of our screening inside of Inago. So they'll pay the $45 fee to do the screening through Inago, and then Paul gets the results, and we'll utilize that to determine if we're going to rent to them or not. But we don't use Inago at all for anything else. So after that point, we collect rents with Zelle and Venmo.
Okay. So is you texting them like, remember rent day is today, or are you using WhatsApp or any communication?
Yeah, we do a combination of texting. We have, I think, a 3-way text chat with almost everybody, us two, and then one other person. And then we have a WhatsApp for each house. We have heard that some people use Telegram. We might switch to that because Telegram allows you to create a group chat but then people can't see each other's phone numbers. It hasn't been a problem, but just something to be aware of. I didn't know that. In WhatsApp, you can see people's phone numbers. Telegram, you can't.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I think in Telegram you can do automated messaging too for when someone moves in or something. I'm still looking into that myself. But,
Yeah.
but
You can't do bots in WhatsApp from what I've heard, but you can do them with Telegram for sure.
Yeah. The other part of the tech stack that we use that I really like is it's kind of like Google Forms, but Tally.so.
Okay.
It's basically like Google Forms on crack. You can put like tons of pictures and videos and stuff, and you can do conditional logic. So if you have a multiple choice question and somebody selects an answer, it can go into one of two places, or you can skip pages. You can and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It looks nice.
Like, do you have a dog? And then if you do, it goes down the path of, all right, what type of dog, vaccine, yada yada, or no, and it just skips that section, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The way that Paul has it set up is the very first page is an introduction to who we are, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. We don't drink, don't smoke, etc. And then once they get past that point, pick a house. And then once you choose a house based on the pictures that they see or the location of that house.
Do you share the actual location? Do you give them the actual address, or do you give them like an approximate street corner? Or
we give them the closest street corner, with like a few miles away. But I've actually had people say they go through, they read about us, they read about the house, they see the pictures, they see videos because we have videos of the house too and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, wow, that was the most thorough thing I have ever seen in my life. I appreciated you. I knew exactly what I was going for when I, said, hey, can I schedule a house tour? I've had other people where, I request like, hey, I want to live in your house. And they're like, cool. Come on by, and it's like just nothing. So,
there's no like pre-screening application or anything, so that you can weed out people that just can tell they wouldn't fit. Do you find that people actually read the whole thing? I found in today's day and age, people don't tend to read.
Nope. Yeah, that's a big point, especially on like Facebook. I've noticed that if I put things in the description, people don't read it. So I've started putting the same thing in the description. I put it in a picture. Okay. I put it in Facebook Marketplace. I'll put a picture of the floor plan and then description like next to it of like the stuff that they should read. So it's always that way.
But the few people who read the entire pre-screening application and get through all of that, they've pretty much filtered themselves in. Yeah. Those are the type of people that we want in our houses because they're actually thorough enough to go through that process and read all of that information and then fill out the form.
Yeah. The type of person who's going to sit there for a room rental, like reading something for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, answering a bunch of questions, that they're probably already good.
So. Okay. Do you do anything weird, like in the middle of your description about yourself, be like, the word is cookie or something, and then later down the few pages down, be like, what was the word again? And if they actually type in cookie, then you know that they've read the whole thing.
That's a good idea, actually.
These guys are actually informed. So that way your screening can be as simple as, all right, just look for the word cookie for this answer.
Yeah.
Paul is actually, I've got to give him tons of credit. He built the Tally.so form, and that thing has had some fun questions on it. So he does a good job of like asking creative questions that will prompt an interesting responce. So we can really get a feel for that person.
So, is it appropriate to trim your nails in the living room, for example?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how many 40s can you drink in 5 minutes?
Right?
No, like one of my questions.
2.5. Anyway,
yeah, 2.5. Pretty not the best we've seen. But,
how about opening the throat?
Yeah. One of the questions that I like to ask people is before you're leaving for a trip via plane or whatever, and you're going to be gone for a week or two, what are 3 things you would do before you leave, aside from packing? Aside from like packing your stuff and
right, you gotta pack before you leave. That's all.
Yeah, and this was actually inspired by one of our housemates who, before he left for a trip for a couple of weeks, I think it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, he started eating everything in the fridge that was going to spoil. And I was like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Well, I don't want to have to spoil while I'm gone." And I was like, "That's pretty considerate. Thank you for doing that." And so now it makes me think about other people.
Some people will say, I'll cut all the lights off. So we're learning a lot about them from these very creative questions.
Yeah.
We just found some raisins in our cabinet that expired 2.5 years ago. So it's cool. And I remember the exact day we bought said raisins. I remember that was weird. Anyway, it's a perfect forward.
Oh, I did want to add too, from a tech, not a tech perspective, but a systems perspective. One thing that we found very helpful for our renovation projects is what we do is we do a Cubicasa of the house for the floor plan.
Cubicasa is awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing.
You ever do any of the paid features, or do you just use the straight up
We just use the free one.
Yep.
And then what we do is we take those floor plans, we upload them into Canva, and then we overlay what we want the property to look like after. We do a floor plan for electrical. We do a floor plan for HVAC. All the partition walls. So every single thing that we want added to that property for a renovation, we put it on a separate floor plan. We literally print it, laminate it, and then we put it in a 3-ring binder, and we leave the binder at the property. So every single sub that walks through that house knows exactly what we want done to that house.
Do you do something to keep that binder like in that spot? Like, is it like a chain or anything so it doesn't go walkabout? Or you've never had that issue where like suddenly one of the guys is like, "Where'd the binder go?" You know? We
just leave it on the kitchen and on the kitchen counter, and typically people will take it in other rooms to look at it while they're doing electrical or something like that. But for the most part, they've brought it back and put it in its original place.
The main floor plan with like wall changes, we did print that out separately and then like paste it in various places. Yeah. So that way you could look at it.
Do you often go through the house and like blue tape it? Like this wall is being removed here, or
we do that sometimes. Yep. And then we also hang up for designs, like bathroom designs. We hang up a picture of what that design is supposed to look like and the materials that are going up on the wall.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Cubicasa and Canva is fantastic.
Did you get a lot of this just from your background, Harris, working, where you do? Just already, because you guys launched, but did you have that support system that you were able to reach out to other investors that you'd already worked with? Like, hey, how do you guys do things? Or did you just kind of magically be super geniuses?
I think we kind of learned as we went. I don't know how we came up with the idea of the laminated pages. I don't remember, but I do have a lot of experience with just dealing with contractors. You just have to like assume that they're not going to do anything you tell them to. So just put a picture so they can reference it.
You got to assume everyone's a toddler, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we probably learned that from the previous renovations where
that's true.
It was just like, hey, this is what we discussed, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
So Tally.so.
Tally. Tally.so.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Tally.so and Cubicasa are two of your big tech stack features.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah.
We use Google spreadsheets a lot. Google Sheets. I keep all of our income and expenses, how much money we'll have to collect and how long that'll take in order for us to break even on the renovation thing. We do all of that in Google Sheets.
Yeah. And then Inago for credit, eviction, background history, and then income verification, I think.
Yeah.
So
do you have like a separate I'm just thinking about taxes and like simplification there. Do you do anything there to like separate the homes? Do you have like a separate bank account for property? So all the Zells from one house go to this account, from that house go to that, or
so since we're currently doing owner occupied loans, and as we kind of move out of those homes, it gets a little bit more complicated. But since they're in our personal names, that they just go into our personal accounts. But as we start to scale, you really have to consider that. If I transfer this over and deed it over to an LLC, how am I going to do the bank accounts? So we're in that process right now because of us moving into a new home here soon.
Yeah, so we haven't done that yet, but we'll need to figure that out as we scale up.
You don't have to figure everything out from the beginning. You just figure it out as you go.
You stumble through. It'll be
I mean, if anyone wants to get into this easily and you have a big house, like rent a room, you'll figure it out.
All right. So the next question I'm going to ask you, we already kind of covered off the tenants, but is there any other tenant screening tips? Anything else you want to just bring up in the tenant space before we move on?
Tenant screening. I know that I think there's a lot of people that kind of say, hey, you have a pulse? Great. You can fog a window. All right, you can rent here. But we're very, very adamant about the type of person that we're looking for. Like Harris mentioned, we're basically saying, well, on Facebook Marketplace, probably others, you have to be very careful about what you say. Like, you can't have parties, you can't drink or do all this kind of stuff. Obviously, it depends on your state, but you can very easily say, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't party, and then that will automatically turn people away. Something that may be a difference. We do traditional leases. Traditionally, like 6-month leases at a certain price, and then 3-month leases at a little bit more, month to month a little bit more, and then 12-month leases at a little bit of a discount. We do a traditional security deposit. I know a lot of people do something different, but this was the easiest thing.
The 1 month's rent or 1.5, or what are you at? You're 1 month?
Yep.
1 month.
Yeah. Which I think is also perhaps what gives us a little bit better, because the type of person that has 1 month rent and a security deposit, so literally almost $2,000 of savings, that's probably a person that has their
or at least say they have some sort of financial ability, right?
Exactly, right. Okay. Whereas if you're using Pad Split or something and it's just like,
one week,
right, then that could be a perfectly great financial tenant, but you have no idea.
Sure.
You could also go the way. So I think that helps a lot. Security deposits.
Yeah. I think too, if you are not good with people, you have to find somebody who is good with people to do this type of job, this type of role, because Paul is great with people. So he does all the tenant screening, all the vetting, and I am very good with more mechanical stuff. So if there's a plumbing leak or something, like I'm the person who handles that. If there's peanut butter problems, like Billy's, you always use Billy in your examples. Which
Billy, Sam, Jack.
Yeah.
Names. Yeah.
Yeah. If Billy is, upset because Jane hasn't cleaned the stove, like he deals with that.
I like that.
It's a very people-oriented business. Jessifer?
Yeah, I like Tomberly and Jessifer.
Okay, those are two good names.
Yeah, I would say that's probably another good tip for anybody who is thinking about moving into this and maybe it's a little scary. Do it with a partner. I think it makes it a million times easier because, like as Harris mentioned, not everybody has all the skills. One person's a mechanical person, one person's a people person. One person knows renovations, somebody else knows taxes. It's just much easier. Just do it with somebody else.
So Harris is running the maintenance and the rehabs, and you're managing the ongoing people operations and acquisition.
I think that's
You guys got split?
I do a lot of the design on the front end of figuring out how the floor plan can be best utilized for co-living. And I also do a lot of I handle stress very well. So if something very stressful is happening, I'm the person who handles that.
Plus, if you're ever angry, you just look at Paul's face. And
exactly.
That's why she's always smiling when she looks at you. She's always laughing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say on the renovation side, we both handle that because renovation is people and systems for sure. Because if a contractor's not doing something, he's got to deal with that because I'm just going to yell at them and then they're not going to like me.
You walk in and see that it's wrong. You can mechanically tell that it's wrong, and then you like whisper in Paul's ear, go yell at him.
Yeah. Yes,
absolutely. I want to tell a very quick story about the difference between Harris and I.
Okay.
The very first, we were trying to install a Eufy smart deadbolt. It's a crazy one. It's got a video camera. It's got a fingerprint.
It's like the $700 one or something, right?
Yeah. I think I bought it on Prime Day. I was like, let me just splurge on this and try it out. I actually love it. It's pretty cool. It's got a camera in it. But anyway, I get it and trying to install it, and it was I was trying to fit the deadbolt piece in the door, and for whatever reason, like I took the old deadbolt out, trying to put the new Eufy one in, it just wouldn't fit. I was like, all right, I guess it doesn't fit. So I was like, I'm gonna start boxing it back up. I'll send it back to Amazon.
Right.
And then Harris comes along.
Like you could just drill another hole. Hey, what is the problem?
I was like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm boxing it up. It doesn't fit. I said, they're all standard sizes. There's no way it doesn't fit.
I don't know that.
So He showed me it wouldn't fit, and I was like, it's just an old door, it's fine. So I went and grabbed a big puffy jacket. It was the middle of winter time. Grabbed a big puffy jacket because I didn't have a mallet, and I got a hammer, and I just started banging that thing in.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who this person is, but then she's like
eating at it.
It fit.
And she got it to fit. So that is the perfect demonstration of the difference between us. I'm the magic one. She's just like, I'm gonna get this to work no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you need both.
Okay.
Lost your train of thought. We're good for that.
No, it's I have a dirty mind, and the whole thing is just anyway. Yes. Okay. So,
Yeah.
all right. On to the next question.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let us see here. What are the top 2 or 3 biggest, maybe most painful lessons? They could be you give me 2 things that are like an epiphany, like, oh my God, this is so awesome, or holy cow, that was terrible, and you're just like mopping up the blood and burying the body in the back.
Yeah. That was
anything that's been exceptionally awesome or exceptionally poor.
Yeah. I'll say probably the rock bottom moment is we started the renovation 2024 in May, and it finished about September. So we moved in September 1st, and we had been advertising on Facebook and a few other places and getting a lot of traction. The house wasn't ready yet, so I couldn't like show people, but I just wanted to get in the rhythm of talking to people. So finally the house is done towards the end of August. We move in. Now we're ready to find people. And now one of the hard lessons that we learned is that most people, this is obvious now, most people move in the summer. So if you're if you're trying to fill rooms in September, you're gonna have a bad time. So first lesson learned. That was the bad part. The bigger bad part is that, as we mentioned, we had the 2 wings of this house. On the opposite sides of the house has its own bathroom, its own exit. And so we're trying to rent for quite a good amount, what we thought was a fair price. Turns out that was not realistic. Okay. And I remember we were one night, we were having a very tough time because we were like, hey, we have these 2 mortgages now. We can't get any traction to fill the rooms. Like, we just spent a ton of money buying the second house to house hack, and now this renovation loan, like, what do we do? Yeah, like, what have we done? This is probably the biggest financial mistake of our lives. This is so stupid. So we did the hard thing, and we lowered the price considerably, much less than we were anticipating. And
by considerably, do you mean a few tens of dollars or a few hundred?
No, hundreds of dollars. So then we started to get a little bit of traction, and I think we learned a hard lesson is that when you're trying to rent rooms, when you're trying to house hack or do co-living, like, don't try to optimize and squeeze every single dollar out of every room. It's much better to try to do something fair. And the other part of it, as we learned later on, this is probably another story, but the amount of money that you're charging, even if somebody's willing to pay for it, you might have somebody living there that is worried about finances, worried about money, and that means they're going to be a stressful person to live with. Whereas this is another story, but we had somebody very good that we really liked, and he wanted to go somewhere else to live for cheaper. But because we really liked him, we said, hey, we'll lower the rent for you. And that was probably, I told him that, I sent him a text message that I would lower the rent for him. And that day he came home from work and he gave me the biggest hug that I've ever gotten in my entire life. And that was a really good memory, and he really appreciated that.
I mean, for him, it was probably, hey, anything I do is going to be a leap into the unknown. I don't know if the next house is going to be as good as this one, right? But I've got to do something for my pocketbook. Is that he's like, thank you for solving my problem? Exactly.
Yeah. He was going to somewhere else where it probably would not have been better. And obviously I'm biased about that, but he appreciated that, and I think it really cemented our relationship, and we've become very good friends.
Yeah. I think the dynamics are going to be different when you're living in the house and house hacking it versus
Okay.
doing pure co-living. But we definitely learned that if you like the people living in the house, and this will be true for co-living too, not just house hacking. If you like them and they're good tenants and you know they're going to stay for a long time, take care of your place, incentivize them to stay, lower the rent for them if you need to. You'd rather have good, stable tenants that are going to be there for a long time for a little bit lower price than have a lot of vacancies or have to evict people or have, a bunch of issues.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we learned.
I forget where I heard this, but the quote keeps coming back in my mind. It's like, especially with co-living or real estate in general, whatever it is, like you can make really good money, but you don't have to make a killing. It can be fair for a lot of people. So another thing is like, if you're trying to rent a bedroom with a private bathroom for $1,200 or something like that, like that's very difficult. $1,200 a month is very difficult. But if you can get
in our market,
it is market dependent, right? So
yeah, but it's like almost impossible to rent one room for $1,200, but two people paying $800 to share that bathroom, like stupidly easy. So it's like you kind of have to think about that. So
you're thinking less in the way of master bedrooms and more, and use that space for more shared bath bedrooms, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely learning lesson. Trying to do private bathrooms with their own entrance and exits. Like it costs the price wasn't really there. The demand wasn't there. So
yeah. One other thing I'd say is you're never going to know everything. So I see a lot of people in this business who are trying to get started and they think they need to know everything before they get started. And you're never going to be prepared for every single thing that happens. Like we weren't prepared for some of the CapEx expenses that we had over the course of having these two properties. We bought the houses, everything was functioning fine. And then boom, you have HVAC issues, right? We had to replace all of his ducts and we had to replace all of my ducts.
Yeah.
So
mold issues, or what was the issue with all the duct work?
In mine, the ducts started separating from the boots. Okay. And then it was basically blowing a bunch of hot air and cold air into the house, just like literally burning up money.
Right.
So we figured that out. And then when we got to look at it, we're like, oh, well, can we just reattach the ducts? And they're like, these are in such terrible shape. They're probably like 20 or 25 years old.
Right.
So here's another big tip. Even if you get a house inspection, even if you have contractors working on your house, no one will tell you how old your ducts are. No one will tell you the condition of the ducts. Yep. No one will tell you the condition of the insulation of the ducts. It's just on you. You get a home inspector, they'll turn the heat on, they'll turn the AC on and be like, it works.
It works.
Right?
Yeah.
But
they take some photos, but unless it's egregious, they're not going to comment on it. So you kind of know what you're looking at.
Yeah. So I would say a big learning lesson too is like, it doesn't matter what house you buy, you're probably going to have some big thing happen in the first year.
Yeah.
Make sure you budget for CapEx.
Just expect $5,000, $10,000. Just put it away for savings, just in case. You never know.
We tell our clients that the first 3 to 6 months of any new house that you're onboarding is a shakedown cruise. You're shaking down and testing out your operational procedures. You're just shaking down your tenants, finding out who's actually going to be, quality for the property and the house itself. Something that worked, may be overstressed and break, right? So
100%.
Certainly something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess with that covered, your biggest issue there. If you could start over, what thing would you have changed? Like with all your knowledge today, if you could go back in time a couple of years, right? What would you have done? Would it have been, start with a bigger house? You have more rooms right off the bat? Would it have been, have that $5,000 set aside? What is the thing that you would have really told yourself when you were sleeping?
For us, absolutely, definitely. We moved in, as Harris mentioned, it's a 5-bedroom house now. We were taking 3 rooms and renting 2. And about 6 months into the house hacking, our first 2 housemates, they moved out. And that's when we decided, instead of us taking 3 rooms, we would take 2 and then rent out 3. So instead of a 4-person house, 5-person house. should have done that from the beginning. Absolutely.
Sure.
Should have done it from the beginning. So that, and also trying to rent a room with a private bathroom and a private entrance for way too much money. Like, it's better just like aim, let me get more bedrooms at lower price, sharing bathrooms, and that would have been way smoother from the beginning for sure.
Yeah, that definitely appeals to our market much more, is shared bathrooms that are at a cheaper price. People are more willing to pay for that than the private fancy, bedroom and co-living. Our market is, we just want the least expensive thing where we can lay our heads down at night.
Yeah, especially if there's a private entrance exit per person. I don't think you really need that. I think you need one door in the front of the house, one door in the back of the house. That's probably good. You don't need one per person.
Yeah.
And we do find that like you sometimes get a little bit of a bump for private entry because some people want to be able to just walk into the room without having to see anybody. You don't have that cool down period where they get home, they decompress before they have to deal with other people. So we found that those rooms can go for a little bit more.
Nice.
But I'm sure it's going to vary, market to market based on need, right? So
yeah, I think I would try to do that, but in kind of like a side entrance or something like that. That's not necessarily one person, unless, as you say, maybe some people really want that. But I think we found it. Yeah, especially because inside the house, if we're renting those rooms out now, they have to use the front door, and that's the only door they can use. I think it would be better if everybody has a choice of 2 doors. So that way you can, if you don't want to socialize, you can go the other way.
You sneak in the backyard or whatever. Right?
Exactly. Right. Something like that. Yeah.
Sorry. Did you have something?
No, you kind of reminded me of something. This was one of the biggest lessons, but had we known that from the beginning, we definitely would have changed that. Renting to people who are interviewing. So we had that month of September where we were like, crap, we don't have any tenants. Like, how are we going to fill this room? And we had somebody reach out to us they wanted short term for 1 week, but they were interviewing. So we've learned since then, when you get a job, call us. Like, but we're not going to rent to you short term for 1 week just to do an interview, because it didn't turn out well for us. Yeah,
the person interviewed for that job didn't get it, and so then was
they couldn't pay to stay.
So it kind of caused a lot of stress in that way. Now, as Harris says, people have said, hey, I'm coming down to Charleston, I'm interviewing there, and it's like, call us when you get your first paycheck.
Yeah. Your first couple of nights, you need to be in a hotel or something while you're here.
Exactly. Because lesson learned, just if somebody does not have a job, it's probably not going to be good. I mean, they could get a job, great, but just tell me when you get that.
Yeah.
All right. So there's another section we're going to go into, but before we do, I want to circle back real quick on some of the things that you've talked about, and just ask. So one of your big learnings was don't try to rent in September or the winter months. It's just not a good time. People aren't looking to move, especially where you guys are. I'm assuming you guys still get snow, right? I don't get snow. I haven't seen it in years. But do you guys get like actual weather?
We get snow once every like 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so not as big an issue. All right, so not like in New York where I grew up, no one moves in the winter because no one's hauling stuff out at all in the winter. But knowing that September, October, November, December, January probably is like your slow months for people. Do you allow, like if someone wants to sign a longer term lease, do you allow them to end during those months? Or are you like, okay, your lease, you're signing with me in February, you're not allowed to do a 9-month lease because that would put you right in the middle of my so you can do a 6-month, a 3-month, or a full year. Do you have anything that like prescribes and guides that so you don't make that mistake and have someone move out during your slow plan?
That's a great question. I know that's something that apartments do. Like they don't want people to leave at a certain point, so they have like 13-month leases and 17-month leases. We haven't done that yet, but we might in the future. Now we just do whenever you move in, choose 3, 6, or 12.
Or incentivize them with a discount for those additional months or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't done that yet. Also, something that we're going to try soon is launching a new house, like a 50% discount first month, because we saw from Harris's house trying to fill an empty house, very difficult. But if you can incentivize people with, 50% off, a few $100s.
Same thing apartments do, right? You learn from them. Why are they doing it? They want to get beds and their heads in beds first, and then get it going from there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you were talking about, hey, the price wasn't working. You just slashed the full price. Did you guys at all consider doing, a discount first 3 months and then it goes up in value, or half security deposit or anything? Or was it just a straight up, we're not going to finagle this thing. We're going to go straight with the cleaver down.
I figured I didn't want to do anything too like creative or a rent that changes. I was just like, let's just slash the rent and we'll leave it. It is what it is,
Okay.
I think we know now that if you incentivize them for the first month or so, just like apartments do, you get one free month or whatever they do. So we would probably do that now, but we didn't know that then. We just did what seemed like the best option for us. Paul's looking at me like he's disagreeing.
No, I was going to say, we were brand new.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We thought we did our due diligence with like room rental rates researching, but we didn't know what we could rent for. So we were just guessing. We were just like, apartments rent for this much, so maybe we can charge this much for a private room with a bathroom. And
you found you had to go a little bit lower.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it did.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, lesson learned. I would say for anyone who's starting in on this, it might be better to just start lower than you think, or at least when you're underwrite for less than you think.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get somebody, at least you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot too badly.
So you still come down and still hit your numbers that made you say yes in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So the next section is going to be my personal favorite. I hope others are going to like this one. It's called Let's Pick a Fight.
Yes.
All right. So as we mentioned at the very beginning, the differences in business design come down to, SOP variations, comes down to maybe you want to provide sheets and blankets like you guys do, and I don't. Little things, but those should be built around a core of consistent similarity generally. There are some good hard rules around just overall design, furnishing, tenant quality that you're looking for. But then you might vary a bit off of that, right? So I asked you guys before we got on the call today what you would like to fight with me about. And you guys chose you want to fight about TVs in the house, because my view on TVs, and you want to fight about what is the word that we have here? Concentration of homes in an area. Okay, not concentrate like think real hard, but concentrate like how many homes do we have in a geographic area? How close can they be? Okay, so let's start with TVs. All right. You guys take, let's call it a minute or so, 2 minutes, and describe your view of TVs. We're going to do a modification of the 5-on-5, a little bit shorter, because I want you give your view, I give my view, and then we can fight. Be like, no, Dave, you're wrong. It'll be great. Okay. So the few minutes, just talk about, your thought on TVs, the pluses, the minuses, why you think anyone that likes a TV is insane.
Yeah.
We'll go there.
I'll start off. This is a little bit something personal to me. I personally, during COVID, I gave up all TV, movies, video games. I used to be huge into that for the first multiple decades of my life, but I gave that up, and I've seen my life grow in so many ways, including real estate and all this kind of stuff. And so now I don't watch TV. We don't have any TVs in the common spaces of any of our houses. And I think that brings out a certain person who is okay with that. Like somebody might see in our ads, we don't have any TVs anywhere. You can put you can put a TV in your room if you really want to, but in the common spaces, there's no TVs. And some people might be like, that's terrible. I want to watch TV when I get home. I don't watch sports. Those people are going to filter themselves out. That's great. That's fantastic. On the other hand, you might have people that are interested more in reading or talking. And so they look at this and they're like, cool. And then those people will gel more with us.
Yeah, 100%. We don't watch TV, don't watch movies, and we feel like it creates more of a community environment because what happens in our homes is people don't come home and sit on a chair and watch the TV in the living room. What they do is they come home and they cook dinner in the kitchen, and then they sit at the dinner table and they talk to each other. So I know not everybody does this, but we love the community aspect of this. Like, we want people to come home and chat with each other.
Right.
We don't want people to come home and fight about who's watching the TV and how they don't want to watch this and I want to watch this instead.
Yeah. I think it's almost like a magical thing. The first few times it happened is like when we were in a bedroom or something, but we could just slightly overhear our housemates talking to each other. And I was like, that's cool. That's awesome. You know, they're talking about each other's days and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
It's a bit awkward that you could hear something through your bedroom, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but the other part too is we differ on putting TVs in the rooms. Obviously, if somebody wants a TV in a room, some people have done that. That's fine. Do whatever you want. But supplying them, I think it's a different type of person that will rent a room where there's no TV in the common space and no TV supplied in the bedroom. If you want to bring one, again, that's totally fine. But the type of person that's okay with that is probably a different type of person.
It is going to jive with you guys better because you're in the home. You want to make sure you have a good jivey relationship.
Yeah, they might be more studious. It's like a student. Maybe they're more interested in conversation rather than watching TV
or reading.
Yeah, so it's definitely our preference for people to not watch TV, but we're totally fine if they watch it in their room. We're just not going to supply them with a box.
You're not going to give them their drug of choice.
Yes, basically.
You give it. The other thing is perhaps it might be a little quieter if they don't have TVs in their rooms. Again, if you want a TV room, go for it. But if not everybody has one, it might be a little quieter.
Okay.
Do like Planet Fitness where you like have a connector for just your
earbuds? Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
So that's our opinion on TVs, Dave.
So does this section have a rebuttal?
Yes. That'll be the third bit, right? So I'm going to go through my view now on TVs, and then after that we fight. It'll be a good time. All right. So I find TVs to be something that our market has looked for. It set us apart. When I first launched in Houston, I looked at my master bedroom and it was renting for $225 to $250 a week, so $900, little over $1,000 a month for the master bedroom. And my question was, okay, how do I get my other bedrooms closer to that number? So that's how I started providing more amenities. Right, everyone else is coming in; they're doing the very basics: the bed, the nightstand, the lamp, the blinds on the windows, and that was pretty much it. Right. I was like, all right, if I can provide an amenity that's going to provide value. And I settled on a desk, a chair with an extra lamp. So you had the bedside lamp and you had the desk lamp and a wall-mounted TV. I decided wall-mounted TVs because it'd be there. I figured it'd be more secure. It's out of the way. I don't need to put another piece of furniture in the room to hold that, so it keeps the flow working, right? I really thought through all the elements of that selection. And in doing so, I have gotten higher rents for those rooms, and we found that those rooms with TVs compared to some that we don't will rent out a little bit faster than they would otherwise. So it's the additional amenities we found provide value. I've had a lot of people ask questions like, hey, you got TVs in the rooms. Are people complaining about the noise? I will say with over 1,000 tenants and 4 years in the business now, across 50 homes now, and more coming on board, we have not yet once had a complaint from one member to about another about the volume of TV in the bedroom. So we found that, I get more money, I rent them faster, I haven't had complaints around it. I've only twice had TVs stolen. In both those instances, this person that stole the TV went through an eviction, and they just trashed everything right away. They weren't going to be fantastic regardless, right? So that's how that's worked out. Today, I mean, I'll get a TV that's $120 or less, and now you can get a 40-inch plus for that price. I used to be just 32-inch TVs. So now you get bigger TVs, less money, and it pays itself off. So that's my view on TVs in the bedrooms. I do have a few homes where we put TVs in the common area. And I don't have dedicated like sitting space. What I do is I have a kitchen, and it may be large. I've got an eat-at island, and I'll put a TV mounted on the wall in the kitchen. In 2 of the 3 houses I have those in, that TV is hardly ever used. It's there. It looks great for photos. People comment on it. People say are happy they have it there. One of them is a 60-inch TV that I got for free from my solar panel installer. I did 2 houses with solar panels. I put one of those in my house. I put one of those in this rental property, and just because it was sitting in my garage, not doing anything. Did it? It looks great. It looks fantastic for photos. It's been turned on twice. So it's just there. The other one's a 40-inch TV in the kitchen area of one of my houses, and that was used all the time. In that house, that had brought people together. So people will watch the football games together on the TV. So they'll sit there, they'll sit at the island, just like they would at a bar. They'll watch the sports on it. They'll do it. Or some of the guys, when they're cooking, will have the TV on in the background. And again, no complaints, but people have been happy. It's worked. A lot of times it's just there, for the photos, which is my normal view on common area, but that's not going to be a question for today. But it's not used. Okay. So with that rebuttal, what do you think is insane about me doing it? Like anything there? Have I convinced you guys should do TVs? You guys should do TVs.
Definitely not.
No. No.
I'll say you said 4 years, hundreds of rooms. No one's ever complained about noise. That's
crazy.
Bringing people together. That's surprising.
The shows are like the group event things that they'll have. Like they'll have the sporting event on, so they'll watch that together. In general, I haven't yet had someone sit there and watch like Naked Gun 2.5 or something. It's not been. We haven't, because they have the TVs in their room if they want to do something that's particular to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you noticed in any houses before you installed TVs in the bedrooms and after, if there was any different community feel?
See, that's where we're going to vary quite a bit. I don't tend to see community.
Yeah.
Right? I visit homes. We take care of homes to manage and maintain things, and we'll swing by. I got some homes where people have been there for years, and they're really good neighbors now. They got the friends vibe going on, right? So I think the community comes through with over time, and not due to, say, a lack or an availability of an amenity. Yeah. There is one exception to that. We ended up with a home that had 4 chefs in it from 4 different restaurants. Nice. And for them, they were already jiving, but they requested an amenity that we provided. They wanted a barbecue grill in the backyard, and we provided that. And for 2.5, almost 3 years, while they were all still living there, that house just every weekend was beers and burgers and steaks and everything. They would all cook together. They'd be outside laughing. It was a good time for years because they jive, because that particular personality coalesced. And then everybody else is like, oh, I want to have some of that steak or whatever. And they just came together and they would cook and everything. So,
but the key word that you just said there was years.
That's
so the community of the chefs made them stay longer. So what happens or tends to happen in our houses is people will come into the kitchen, and I agree with you that the food is what really creates the community. People are cooking together, they're talking with each other. What we have found is if you come in and somebody's on their phone, they're not going to interrupt you. And I think it's the same way with TVs. You come in the kitchen, somebody's watching a TV. We have common spaces, so we have couches. Oh my God, couches!
I can't believe you.
Small couches, though.
So dirty.
Cannot sleep on.
Yes, but people come in the kitchen, and if they saw somebody watching a television, they probably wouldn't interrupt. They probably wouldn't say hey. But what we have is a lot more community. Every single time somebody walks in the kitchen, they're not watching a television. They are watching, they're saying hey to each other. They're physically talking to people. And I think that creates more community, which makes people stay longer and creates less turnover, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think also if people buy their own TVs
Mm-hmm.
and bring them in the house, that might actually make them stay longer too, because they're like, oh, I bought this TV and like it's here already.
You think it's even hard to move it or something? Like, right.
I don't know how to, it's hard to like have data on this or something like that, but I have to imagine that if everybody or most people have a TV in their room, then a lot of people will go to their room and watch TV. Whereas if maybe they didn't, maybe they'd get bored or something and like
hang out.
No, yeah.
I start worrying that, increased interaction breeds potential for increased conflict. With you guys, you're there to constantly mediate and prevent, things. Without that guiding hand, maybe I'd be concerned that the more often someone's near each other and they can touch each other, the more frequently there's going to be like threats and stabbings and look at me for to come through. But that's all variances in the business. And with you guys doing the way you are, I can just see, you're building out a core representation of people that you want to be there, that represent you in some ways. They are like your avatars over time. Yeah. And as you move on, you're going to leave that behind. So new people that come in are going to be influenced by the people that are there. And they're going to know this is the way it is supposed to be. Where I'd be worried about you guys would be if you had a house collapse for whatever reason. Like if you had a house and you guys move out of like the current one, you move into the next. And so you got 5 bedrooms, 2 of the rooms went vacant. So you had because you guys left. So now you're trying to rent out all 5, 3 are there, but then 2 of those guys move on. So you have one person there from your core, your initial avatar, and now they're going to be outnumbered by new people coming in. Right now, you're going to be trying to screen and process and be there. Without you guys having that constant presence, how long do you think that Paul and Harris flavor stays in the house? Or could other strong personalities come in there and tweak and change that for you?
Yeah.
So you have to worry a bit more about that.
I agree with you that it probably would disappear. I think where we differ is that if you put a bunch of people into a house and maybe they interact, I kind of think that maybe there's a chance they become friends, and where I think you think they'll go down.
Right? Yeah.
That's kind of thing of like, you
you
think people are naturally good or naturally evil by default or something, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it's more of the optimistic side of things.
Yeah.
So we're going to be optimistic that.
Have you ever seen a bunch of toddlers? You take 5 unknown toddlers, you put them in a room, someone's pulling someone's hair in the first 30 seconds. And in general, you kind of have to consider your tenants to be toddlers in many ways, is what I've tended to find, right?
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I like the words or the phrase Harris and Paul flavor.
Yeah, the Harris
Paul and Harris flavor. I like that.
Yeah, you got your little marination that you're leaving behind, right? So I was, as you move forward and you're expanding, I was just trying to figure out how can you condense that into an SOP or something.
Yeah.
Or how do you leave more of that behind? Does that mean that you meet more frequently, like you host events, like you go to the house, you're like, all right, every Thursday is game night, and you better be there because this is our family. And family night is game night. That's what it is. And you do something. Little things.
I definitely think we create a culture. And I think it only takes one person left over, like the example that you gave. If one person is there that had the culture of the Paul and Harris flavor, it only takes that one person to say hello and start conversation with other people. In addition, we do have community events. So we'll have a dinner at our house where we'll cook dinner, for example, and we won't just invite our housemates. We'll invite people from the other co-living home to come over, and then they meet our housemates and they start to become friends with them. So we've had, people that live in different houses that have become friends through our culture. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that, go on, Paul.
And I'll say that's fantastic too. But something we haven't done But something I think Miller does is he'll buy a pizza for his house and say, hey, pizza will be there Friday at 6 p.m. Grab a slice and stay, grab a slice and leave, or, say hello, whatever. I think that's kind of a brilliant thing. It's like, you don't even need to be there. Just send a pizza.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I kind of like that.
So that, by the way, dovetails very nicely into the next thing we want to fight about, which is concentration. Because the more concentrated you are, I think that makes your idea of having your housemates know each other, of you being able to leave some of that sauce behind, right? Maybe you need to get like some barbecue sauce, right? Because you're in Carolina, some Carolina barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
You need to white label it, the Paul and Harry flavor, and you need just to leave that behind. Every once in a while, you just have like a bottle of Paul and Harry flavor, right? So you gotta go sample.
That's a good idea, actually.
I have some friends that they have a barbecue sauce company. We're totally doing that.
Yeah. You gotta do it, right? But concentration, let's fight about that because we do have a little bit of a difference there as well. In that.
I don't know if this is necessarily like a preference type of thing, but when we started, Harris kind of pushing me into buying a house, my main stipulation was I want to buy a house within 5 minutes of Harris's house. And I think that was one of the most brilliant decisions ever because during the renovation, we could like stop by after work as let's go check out how it's going, and then talk with the contractor and that kind of stuff. And if there's any issues at the other house, then it's like 5 minutes away. It's fantastic. So definitely, as we're talking a little bit at the beginning of the call, if you put 50 or 100 rooms in the same area, you're probably gonna have problems. So we don't know what that's gonna be. And this is another thing that's on my mind. We've talked about this a little bit. I would love to buy a commercial property and convert it into co-living. So kind of like apartments, but renting by the room. But as we've talked about, the concentration might kill you. So I don't know what that limit is. But for right now, I enjoy having our 2 or 3 houses right next to each other, all within 5 minutes. Very easy to go back and forth. So.
We're also right in a hub of the airport. The Boeing facility is right next to the airport. So there are a ton of people who are working at Boeing. The military base is right up the street. So we are in like the perfect spot for the hub of having tons of potential.
You have those main jobs, but then even if none of your tenants actually work at Boeing, there's all the other jobs that are there to support. Like the guy that works at Subway or whatever, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So we're kind of like very, very centrally located within the Charleston metro area, which is fantastic. The only thing we don't get, because we're a little bit far, is from College of Charleston. It's a little bit far for students. And there's also a very, very big hospital there that we have a little bit of interest in, but we're definitely a little bit farther away. So we don't get a lot of interest from. We get some traveling nurses, medical professionals, but nowhere near as much as if we were closer. It's about probably 20 to 30 minutes a drive right now, which is a little bit far.
I think there's an argument for both sides, but our side is as people who are self-managing, who don't have a huge portfolio, you want them to be close by to each other. You want to be able to go over there and access the property in 5 minutes. You want to be able to be there if there's a problem. So I think in our case, it makes perfect sense. Does it make sense for everybody? Probably not. But for self-managers who are just getting started, who don't have a massive portfolio, yes, I think you should definitely have them concentrated pretty close by.
Yeah, at least for the first few, definitely makes sense. I think maybe how I would say it is like if you're doing property management or paying for property management like Pod Split, and you have to take that cost into account, then you got to be careful with that. Otherwise, the big thing is if I could start over again, I would try to find the Boeing, the hospitals, the Air Force Base, and try to get a house right like within walking distance, right? And that would be like targeting to the max. I think that would be really good.
100%.
Fantastic. So what I'm hearing from you guys is you consider what I call the 3 pillars of acquisition, right? You got your site, you got the home itself, and then you got the tenant base. You guys are finding that as far as site is concerned, you're primarily targeting this particular area because you have the generators of the tenant coming into play. And then I would layer onto that the thought that the house itself has an impact on concentration because you have 2 homes that are each 5 bedrooms each, whereas I would generally be going for 1 home with 10 bedrooms each. So you might be able to have a greater concentration of properties because you don't have the bedroom count concentration that I tend to see and recommend, right? So even with 2 homes, I would still equate that to 1 property, right? You're not worried about it. What I find to be concerning about concentration is there are lots of companies that have launched and gone bankrupt with the idea of concentrated bedroom counts, right? Even those that have been in areas of high density. I mean, the Common went bankrupt, and they were operating apartments, buildings that were converted into rent by room in New York City. They were working on one in Houston and California, across the country, and they went absolute bankrupt. They went bye-bye. So, big part of that was that they just couldn't support the need in that one area. Because if you think about the type of tenants we're talking about here, in general, they're looking to be close to their jobs so they can save on the expense of getting back and forth from work, both in time and in money, right? So I think you got that covered a lot by what you're saying is that you are surrounded by the generators. So a lot of people, just if you're in the middle, they can get to different places. So that might be working for you. In Houston, where we have the largest city by geographic size, maybe not height, but width, we're fat. We're a big fat city. Love you, Beyonce. You have to say that. If you don't worship Beyonce in Houston, you get in trouble.
Oh, did I know that?
It's a whole thing. If you go down the street and you say, "Oh, I don't like Beyonce," you get in big issues. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Okay. Yes. So we have a wide spread. So trying to put a house in one area, try to put too many homes in one area, people are having to drive further and further for work to get that concentration, right? Whereas where you guys are, you just have more people that are in that one spot, I think. So I just be worried, of ensuring that you're not going to overwhelm the area and make yourself your own competition.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to hit that tipping point where you're going to launch your next house, and you're going to have to start dropping rates there or at your other houses because now there's just too many, and now you're competing with yourself. At that point is what I'd be concerned with.
Yeah.
Another part is just considering the streets. In Houston, there's a new builder, and they built one new build house of 10 bedrooms on this dead-end street. It can only hold like 10 homes on it. And there's a bus stop across the street, but it's right there. And about half the people in any home in Houston are going to have cars. All right, so you got this little dead end. It can hold 10 homes on it. You buy one lot, you build a new house.
Yeah.
Right? And that's fine. The street can absorb that. They had street parking for 3 or 4 cars, and the rest could park on the street, no problem. But then they bought a lot across the street from that dead end street. And there's no parking because that's a major road. And they have another 10 bedrooms in that one street. Okay. And now there's no parking potential. So that I would see would be a concern. Is just the overall ability to absorb what you're doing.
Yeah.
Concentration. So it just seems like there's a lot of little elements you need to consider there within that.
I'm gonna have to argue with you on the common thing. Okay. I listened to a podcast. We've talked about this recently.
Yeah.
I hear you say this all the time, and I'm like, Dave is wrong. No, but
They went bankrupt, man. They're gone.
There was a podcast that I listened to where the owner or the CEO of Common was on there, and he was talking about how all of that went down. And ultimately, what he said is when they started to spread out to different cities, that's when things started going wrong. Because what happened is in city number 2, they had to find a property manager. And if that property manager were out, they had to have a backup for that property manager. And they had to have a maintenance person. And then that maintenance person, if they were out, they had to have another backup.
They were increasing all of their costs and operational complexity as they spread out, so as they decentralize, you're saying, where they had problems. Yeah.
So it was definitely... It's definitely, I'm sure that they couldn't fill the rooms. I think that was around COVID time. You might know more about that than I do, but Probably, yes, they probably couldn't fill the rooms, but I think a part of it was definitely the systems and the operational costs of having the staffing by spreading out. So there's definitely an argument for both sides.
You do have a great benefit if you're all in one area. I mean, your cleaners are going to charge you less, negotiable, because they can get from house to house faster and smoother. That's a question. Are you guys actually using cleaners, or because you live there, are you cleaning it yourself?
Oh, yeah. No, we don't want to be cleaning other people's
That's
bathrooms.
the benefit you have, guys.
Actually,
it's great.
When we started having a cleaner for my house, and then we added cleaning for other house, I asked the cleaner, is like, hey, can you do this house too? They're like, yeah, of course. Awesome. Probably makes it better for them because they have a guaranteed 2 houses cleaning. It's like, yeah, great. Win-win situation.
Yeah. What we found for the cleaning specifically was that we would have empty rooms, and when we would go to try to fill them, if somebody were using a shared bathroom and kind of treating it like their own because they're the only person using it at that time, it became a conflict. So we learned to kind of schedule the cleaning around the time that we were going to have a vacancy. And then that way it would look really nice for when the potential tenant started to walk through.
We've also started cleanings towards the end of the month. So that way, first of the month comes around and everything's clean. As far as concentration, I'm just going to throw a random number out there. I think like 20 to 25 rooms in one like 5-minute area is probably going to be okay. Probably if you're going past that, then you're probably going to start having problems. That's what I've got in the back of my mind anyway.
Right. So, I think you're just going to have to keep experimenting with that. I don't think you're going to really know until you get that next house up and you hit a wall. It's like, oh, who knows? Right. Because it could keep absorbing. All right. So I think now we've been at this for an hour and a half.
Yeah. I know you have something else right now, right?
6 minutes. Yes. I have to change shirts. So it looks like I have 2 different videos. That's my plan. But guys, thank you so very much. I think people are going to get a lot of benefit from here. Just talk about the actual operations. We went into things. It wasn't just co-living, rah, you should get into it, but real difficulties and challenges and, success, pushing it through. So is there any last thing you want to put out there? You want to leave any information on yourself so people can reach out to you, or anything you want to say?
My main thing is I'm very, very big on house hacking. I think it is the best possible way to get into this. Also, owner-occupied renovation loans, FHA 203K, Fannie Mae Homestyle. Stupidly easy way to buy a house, renovate it for almost no money. Start renting some rooms, you're in. You want to start doing co-living for another 40, 50, 500 rooms? Take step 1. That's my thing.
I post every single day on socials about what we're doing.
I see that. That's a lot of posts.
So if somebody
disciplined
wants to find us, you can probably find me and then find him through that. But I'm Harris House Hacks on all of the socials pretty much. And we love you, Dave. We think you're great.
Yeah, you're awesome.
You're brilliant. You have great systems in place, and we've pretty much learned a lot of things from the beginning when we first got started from those NACO calls with you. Yeah. I remember you would walk around with your camera and show us the houses you were touring. So we appreciate you, and thank you for having us on.
Keep being awesome.
Thank you. Thank you guys so very much. And with that, c'est la vie.
All right. See you, Dave.
Bye.
Now, how do I stop it? Here it is. Okay.